Spoilers, I guess.
Ah, love. What a complicated and multifaceted emotion for something that we all feel in some kind of way for somebody out there. I'd say most forms of love come from familial and platonic relationships. However, the kind that I'm sure many of us out there strive for is the romantic kind. While there is a lot of overlap amongst these many different forms of love, possibly including some that I failed to mention, society and the media make sure to put quite the laser focus on the romantic side of things. From movies, shows, books, and even magazine tabloids on current celebrities, romantic love is present everywhere you look. Although these mediums attempt to portray the ups and downs of love, they tend to steer towards a happy ending, where the couple we follow throughout the story end up solidifying their relationship happily ever after. Reality is not always so kind though, is it? Relationships are a lot harder than Hollywood makes it out to be. Don't get me wrong, it is entirely possible to get that bullseye on your first go, but I'm fairly confident when I say that is the exception and not the norm. You could be in a relationship and after an indeterminate amount of time, and in a myriad of ways, have it come to an end. Hell, sometimes the relationship doesn't even get lift off the ground before it's over. And that's reality, ain't it? As much as love can feel great, love can hurt just as much. But what if we finally saw some of that come to the mainstream? What if there was a story that focused more on the realistic side of romantic love? Well, everybody, let's welcome to the stage Makeine, Many Losing Heroines! When I first stumbled across this anime, it was like, it's called Too Many Losing Heroines, but where's the superpowers? There weren't any fights at all. Man, I bet all they're gonna do is sit around and talk about their feelings. Okay, that was a pretty good watch. Alright, but just what is a losing heroine though, right? Maybe I'm out of the loop, but this is the first time I'm hearing something about this. Actually, before that, what the heck is a Makeine? 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 Hold on. Losing Rise? Any other place I tried to look didn't give me an answer. Not that it makes any sense, but losing rice it is then. Although the term losing heroine doesn't really have a solidified definition, the anime at least gives you enough context to work off of to realize, oh, it's when these girls get rejected by their love interests. Though I might be a bit generous here because the only explanation, if you could call it that, we get is from this goober right here. If you haven't caught on by now, none of the main girls end up with their crushes, and instead have their own ways of coping with that fact, which is a nice change of pace that we don't get to see very often, and I welcome it. The first of our not-so-star-studded cast is the main man himself, Nukumizu. Seeing as he doesn't exactly fit the build for a heroine in this story, it is safe to say that he does not have to deal with the harsher side of romance, at least not directly. One of the first things we learn about him is that he is a lone wolf with no friends and only finds solace within the pages of a book. Although, lone wolf could be an appropriate term for anyone else like this, he's far from the alpha Chad that normally would don the title. I think lone fish fits this goober much better. In fact, the whole story gets set into motion not because of Nukumizu's intervention, but because he just so happened to be there when our first loser of the story fumbles the bag with her childhood friend and crush. Everyone, meet Yanami. Yanami, as we soon find out, is one of the popular girls at their school. She's not afraid to speak her mind and loves her food. In fact, she is so much of a foodie that she racks up quite the tab at the cafe while trauma dumping on our poor boy. Only someone forgets her wallet and has poor old Nukumizu foot the bill instead, thus kickstarting the story with a promise to pay him back. Oh, monetarily? No, silly, that'd be too easy. How does she do it? Why, by making her own patented bento boxes, of course. We've got such hits as store-bought sandwiches adorned with their price tags, scraps from her own bento, a hunk of rice. Hey, wait a minute! That's not losing rice at all! This guy is gaining rice! You would think with how much of a foodie she is, Yanami's coping mechanism for getting dumped, as she puts it, is eating her feelings away. And you'd be wrong. In fact, she handled her heartbreak so well that she concocted a plan to take staged pictures and post them to social media under the guise of having a real boyfriend, even though that was contrary to the facts at hand. With a plan that foolproof, what could possibly go wrong? For now, let's put a pin in the Chronicles of Yanami and circle back later. Next, we have Komari, a short, quiet as a mouse girl who summons Nukumizu to the literature club that he's apparently been skipping for a good while now. Hey, Knuckle Sandwich, buddy, you can't be signing away on things all willy-nilly. Not everything is an iOS terms of service agreement, okay? Look, you could lose your soul with something like this. Take it from my buddy Adrian.
Trust me, dude. I tried playing Sonic Arena for the ColecoVision and it took my soul. Now I'm turning blue. The doctor said it's unrelated and it might be time to cut down on my daily pint of liquid silver. But I have my doubts. Oh, was it worth it? Well, you tell me.
Don't take me back, please. Don't take me back.
See? The club is where we clearly see that not only is she a bookworm like our male protagonist over here, but she also has the hots for the club president as well. She doesn't make any moves, but it is very clear just how smitten she is, even as an outsider looking in, kinda like our other losing heroine we've yet to meet. Right out the gate, we can see that Lemon here is the chipper and sporty tomboy type, an acquaintance of Nukumizu. Let's call him Persona 4 for now. Wanted to see if he could borrow some books from the club. Lemon, seeing this, wanted to use Nukumizu to try and get closer with John Persona 4. Even though they all had different personalities, it is kind of funny to see just how similar each of our heroines' predicaments are. They couldn't be farther apart in terms of personalities, but their common source of despair is what brings them closer together. So much so that they all ended up joining the literature club in some way. And not only do they bond over their shared sorrows between them, but they also do what high schoolers do and just get to know each other as friends. Funnily enough, even though Lemon was the last of the main cast to be introduced to us, we get to see the way she traverses her feelings first. Honestly, I find her flavor of heartbreak to be the most devastating of the three. Just picture crushing on your childhood friend for as long as you could remember. You try to spend as much time with them as you can. You finally find some time to hang out together. A third party enters the scene, and after some small talk, they joke about how cute of a couple you both look. Only for the bombshell to finally be dropped.
We're totally sure. I already have a girlfriend. 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 I already have a girlfriend.
A devastating blow. If you have ever been in that situation, then you know exactly how she is feeling. Heart stopped, frog in your throat, and a possible cold sweat breaking out right before you scramble for a response as to not completely give yourself away. I'd say it's impressive for anyone in that situation to put a cork on the visceral reaction you gotta bottle up in that very moment. Hey! I saw the way you contained yourself back there. It takes a lot not to have an outburst after a blow like that to your self-esteem. You must be pretty strong. Let's fight! Fast forwarding past some of the story elements a bit, the gang of Nukumizu, Yanami, Lemon, the protagonist of Persona 4, and his girlfriend all opt to hang out together. During this hangout is where Lemon proclaims that she is going to be Yu Narukami's biggest cheerleader.
They're happy. And so am I.
Tacitly cementing herself as the third wheel in this situation. Or would it be the fifth wheel because the other two are here? But they aren't even dating and are just here for moral support. Well, even in the face of the prime number of wheels on this proverbial vehicle, Lemon seems to be standing strong. Everyone is having a good time, and it seems like she is standing true to her word. However, even with that being the case, it doesn't take long before Lemon accidentally lets her true feelings slip in front of her crush and his girlfriend.
No kidding! I mean, you're the guy I fell in love with once. Why don't you get your act together, man?
Wait a sec. Did you just say fell in love?
That wasn't... I didn't mean... No!
Lemon!
As some of you probably guessed, she was bluffing. Perhaps it was supposed to be something that she would tell herself enough to make it true. Or maybe it was something that she just needed to say so as to not to fracture her relationship with her childhood friend. In the face of this revelation and being caught with her metaphorical pants down, she does the only thing she could think of at that moment. She runs away. And I think most people in her shoes probably would have done the same. Concerned for Lemon's well-being, the literature club heads out to cheer her up, and they end up finding her at her grandma's house. After everyone has had their turn to talk to Lemon and have some fun together, it's at night where Nukumizu gets to have a one-on-one with Lemon. She bares her heart for the first time, how she has thoughts about how she would have liked to be chosen instead, and how she sometimes wishes that the relationship that stands opposed to her would come crumbling to an end, and that maybe these darker thoughts are more than just a heartache talking, and that it's really what she feels deep down inside. Fortunately for her, Nukumizu stays level-headed enough to ground her in reality, and he helps Lemon gather the resolve not to run away from her problems anymore, to head back home and talk out her feelings with her childhood friend. She actually does more than that. On top of having a true heart-to-heart with her childhood friend, she spends some time with his girlfriend first. She wants to get to know Lemon in order to make sure that things won't constantly be awkward in the future. And Lemon starts to help her out with getting to know the leader of the investigation team. A surprisingly mature moment from two girls who previously saw themselves as romantic rivals have now begun kindling a new friendship. When Lemon finally gets down to the brass tacks with her crush, they finally express their true honesty with one another. They both, at some point, seem to have feelings for each other. But that was the past, and things are different now. With that mutual understanding, they both agreed to remain friends, reforming the bond that they once had, and both seemingly walking into the night with much less burden weighing them down and lighter footsteps. Now, when it comes to Yanami, we still gotta put a pin in it. I know. She was the first one we got to know, but they saved her for last. Don't shoot the messenger here, that's how the story did it. Luckily, for those waiting in anticipation, Komori's experience with heartbreak is the shortest out of the bunch. As stated before, Miss Mousy Girl here has the hots for her senior classmate and club president, and we really get to see this more as the whole literature club takes a trip to the beach together. However, as we continue to see Komori try to inch her way closer to the president's heart, someone else is subtly yearning for the same treasure. As night falls and the club members continue to do beachside activities like barbecuing and playing with fireworks, in a surprising turn of events, Komori is the one to muster up the courage and confess to her crush right then and there. After some undesirable answers in the shock and heat of the moment, Komori, the club president, and even the vice president, who is now clearly pining for the president as well, all separate in embarrassment and to mull over their own feelings. Nukumizu and the rest of the cast help the romantic rivals come to terms with their feelings, and, in the end, Komori, for as much gumption as she had, gets gently rejected, making it ever more clear that the president has chosen the vice president over her. Nukumizu tries to check in with the crestfallen Komori, but he doesn't really have the tact or finesse to comfort her properly, but the attempt is at least commendable. As awkward as the next day should have been, it is once again Komori who is the first one to break the tension by reassuring the club president and vice president that she doesn't want to burn any bridges. They were her friends before all of this, and she still wants to keep it that way. This touching moment immediately mends any cracks that might have formed in their relationship from the night before. It may have been a bitter pill to swallow, but having a concrete answer about who loved whom seems to be all of what Komori needed. I find this especially interesting because time and time again, Komori is shown to be immensely incapable of social interaction. Her head usually hangs low, she goes out of her way to avoid interacting with as many people as possible, and when she has to say something, she tends to default to typing out her words on a notes app on her phone to show to others, even if those very people are her friends. I relate her to a mouse because of how quiet she is, but when it comes to her heart, ironically, it seems that she has the strongest grasp on how she feels out of the three heroines that we follow. This leads to her romantic arc being relatively short out of all the heroines, but it's still great to see nonetheless. With two of our three heroines more or less accepting their new reality as rejected hearts, we finally get to turn our attention back to the first one we got to meet, Yanami. I mentioned before that she handled her heartbreak poorly, but I should clarify exactly how. It's funny because when she was ranting and raving and racking up the bill for Nukumizu at the start of the story, it's evident she's upset, but she isn't saddened by the rejection she just faced. At least not yet. It isn't until she sees that there are others like her that the reality finally sets in for her. Her romantic feelings wouldn't be reciprocated. As she puts it,
got dumped. I really got dumped.
Fortunately, even in the advent of being dumped, Yanami still proves to be a tough nut to crack, at least relatively speaking. Instead of moping about it constantly, she decides to focus her attention more towards repaying Nukumizu back. Of course, it's not like she doesn't have any gripes about what happened, and she makes sure to drop a complaint about her ex here and there. This keeps up for a good while, so much so that Nukumizu and Yanami's friendship has surely deepened further. Although, this ends up getting Nukumizu called out by Yanami's ex. Being the loser that he still thinks he is, he thinks it's a shakedown, but fortunately, it is just a normal talk. The ex goes on to try to give Nukumizu his blessing to go out with Yanami, but Nukumizu gets offended, perhaps on Yanami's behalf. Being the person who's constantly hearing about Yanami's feelings from the source herself, Nukumizu tries to express to her ex those exact sentiments. The back and forth ends up getting the classic, "I just want her to be happy" sentiment out of her ex. A sincere one to be sure, but a misguided one that I think everyone mistakenly uses. And it's when this line is dropped that Yanami butts her way into the conversation to chew out the boys for talking about her without her being present, and to share exactly how she feels about that sentiment.
Sosuke! I like you. I've liked you for years. I'm not over you, and I don't know when I will be!
I'm sorry.
Don't apologize! Whoever I fall for next is none of your business! Cause even though I still really like you, you don't feel the same. And you've got someone else. So go be happy with her and leave me out of it, cause I'm gonna keep liking you if I want to! I'm gonna keep being sad! And then, someday, when I'm ready, I'll move on!
Everyone handles heartbreak differently, and part of that process is how long it can affect someone. Everyone's feelings are their own, and as odd as it may seem at times, no one has the right to tell others how they are allowed to feel at any given moment. As much as Yanami showed her growth with her acknowledgement and consciousness of her own feelings, she still has one red flag left to tackle. Yeah, it turns out even if you're plenty aware of how much heartache you're going through, that doesn't stop some people from hatching plans about having a fake boyfriend. She initially does this to make her ex jealous. It doesn't seem like she wants to inflict envy with the intent of getting another chance with him though, because she has made it clear that she still wants him to be happy with his new girl regardless of her feelings. However, if it's not to tear apart his relationship, then I'd speculate that she's just doing this to try to make him feel a little hurt in some kind of backwards way. To maybe give him a taste of his own medicine and feel some of the pain that she did. It's not a plan that's thought out too well, but it's not like I'd expect anything more from a high schooler. In fact, her little scheme starts to come back to bite her. Surprise, surprise. We don't get to truly see it, but we get to hear from Yanami herself about how her other friends and classmates have been badgering her more and more to meet her new boyfriend that totally exists. This culminates in the final episode where Yanami gets the other heroines and Nukumizu to help her come up with a backstory to create more proof that he exists by going on a, quote, grown-up date, as she puts it. Everyone seems to be having fun at the amusement park they all go to. Unfortunately for him, Nukumizu has been designated to be Yanami's male model for her pictures to post onto social media. And all the while, Yanami is coming up with increasingly outrageous facts about her 100% bona fide real boyfriend.
Well, my boyfriend works for a foreign corporation called Makeine or something, and it's grown up enough for his taste, so you've got a lot to learn.
What the heck is Makeine?
Hey, wait a minute, not even the main character knows what a Makeine is! She gets so caught up in the mania that she accidentally comes up with a hypothetical where not even her imaginary boyfriend wanted her in the end. Yanami finally comes to her senses though when they just so happen to run into her ex and his new girlfriend, subjecting a poor popsicle to an oral molesting of a lifetime. As raunchy as that was to witness, it seemed to clue our hopeless heroine into the fact that she should just move on from him. Talk about a reality check. Though her ruse was foiled, it seemed like seeing her ex one last time was the cold water she needed splashed in her face, though she makes sure to find the room to huff about it some more. Seeing as it was coming towards the end of the day, Yanami and Nukumizu decide to hitch a ride on the Ferris wheel. There, in the privacy of one of the Ferris wheel's carriages, Nukumizu once again helps one of our heroines come to terms with how things are, reassuring her in his own awkward way. I'd actually go as far as to say that our boy Nukumizu has actually unintentionally been a foundational pillar for our heroines in the story. The first thing we learn about him is that he is a friendless lone fish that loves books, who doesn't even see himself as the main character of anyone's life. We even get to repeatedly see how his neighbors and even his own little sister worry about him because of that. And yet, he just so happened to stumble into the lives of each of our heroines. When Lemon was trying to figure out where her true feelings lied, he was there to help her rationalize things, and was the first to talk to her when she slipped up. He didn't insert himself very much in Komori's romantic turmoil, but he made absolutely sure to help her with her other unrelated issues as they arose. Throughout all of Yanami's antics, Nukumizu was there every step of the way, even if it was pretty clear that he didn't always want to. He was enough of a voice of reason to help each of our heroines not lose themselves in their feelings. So much so that he didn't even realize that each of the heroines actually saw him as a friend. He himself proclaims that he could not even imagine talking to a girl before, but now most of his friends are girls. The poor guy was so clueless that when he asked Yanami in a truly heartfelt moment to be his friend, she was confused because she thought that was already the case. All of these things happen naturally, whether they be platonic relationships that we build with one another, or the love that can blossom at any given moment. It can even build up to the point where both, say, Nukumizu and Yanami share what is presumably a kiss in that Ferris wheel ride. Did that feel sudden? I know that felt kind of out of the blue when I said it, but imagine watching that happen. Even building up to that moment, Nukumizu makes sure to comment about how unromantic it felt to simply be Yanami's caddy around the amusement park. I'd like to say that I've been following along pretty well during this whole journey, but I gotta admit, I'm a little lost as to how this happened. I know our boy Nukumizu has grown quite a bit from the start of the story, but his reaction doesn't make any sense to me. You mean to tell me that this virgin, when he probably gets his first ever kiss, he's locked in? No reaction at all. Business as usual? He should be sputtering like an idiot. He should be sounding like... What was in that tap water that was in those sinks he loved to drink out of? Mike's special stuff? Yanami also decides to throw a monkey wrench into the mix by telling Lemon and Komori that he took her innocence, but he definitely doesn't seem to act like it. Regardless of the small stumble across the finish line there, the point remains the same. In the end, love is always going to be a convoluted mess of an emotion we all feel, especially when it comes to romance. If you ever find yourself with unrequited feelings, that does not mean it will be the end of the world. It may damn well feel like it at times, but that means you just have to try again with someone else. If soulmates are something you believe in, then they are definitely out there. It just becomes a matter of when, and that when is going to be different for everyone. So, go out there, meet new people, make new connections, maybe even get your heart broken a few more times. Hell, it won't even hurt if you take a break and focus on yourself from time to time. Life might be short, but even with that being the case, there's no need to rush into anything. Take your time, sort out whatever lingering feelings you may have, and get back out there and do it all again. I may not be a love guru myself, but I think love is something that you really want to make sure that you get it right. And I'm positive that when that time comes, it should be fairly obvious when it happens. Well, I think I've waxed enough pseudo-philosophical wisdom about something I have no real expertise in. Even if it's with a grain of salt, I hope I've gotten my point across in this video. And maybe even provoked a few thoughts up there in the old noodle. If you agree or disagree, or even just have some thoughts of your own, leave a comment down below. And while you're at it, don't forget to like and subscribe. But most importantly, thank you for watching.